Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Today I am going to be doing something a little bit different. So I'm going to be answering some of your questions that you sent in over Instagram, and I'm also going to be making some healthy peanut butter cups. So if you are just here to find the recipe, I will link it in the info bar below, so you can head on over to our blog, get the full recipe if that's what you're after and you don't want to hear me talk for too long. But what I'm going to be doing today is pretty much just going to be super casual. We're going to be making some peanut butter cups together, answering your questions, having a little chat, and yeah, just having a good old time. So before we get into the video, I will just go through all of the ingredients that we have out in front of us. Number one, we have some raw unsalted cashews. We have some desiccated coconut. We also have some hazelnut flour, some cacao powder, some stevia, some coconut oil, and also some peanut butter from the Source Bulk Foods this morning. So they do like freshly ground peanut butter in store, which is really nice and also good because it means that the oils will potentially be less oxidized. So I got the crunchy peanut butter because crunchy peanut butter is better than smooth peanut butter. Am I right? And in terms of equipment, you are just going to need a food processor, which is essential, especially if you're doing anything like a paleo diet. I would highly recommend investing in a food processor if you can. They are such a game changer and really great for making like snacks and things like that. We use ours all the time. Then the last thing that you'll need is a little silicone tray. So I just bought this silicone tray from Woolworths and they're a really good size. So you want something that's going to be bite-sized and not too big, unless you want to make massive peanut butter cups. But I find that this is a really good size, and the silicone means that it's really easy to pop them out when they're finished. Oh, but you could use like little patty cake wrappers if you wanted to, and it'll give it like that cute little edging. Anyway, I'm just going to jump straight into it. I'm going to be putting all of our dry ingredients into our food processor. I should also mention that we're actually not in the kitchen today. We're in like the dining room sort of area, like dining slash just a room where we put all of the things that we didn't know where to put it. Since we moved, I should have really looked into this when we moved, but the kitchen is so dark and it's so hard to film in there. So I'm actually going to be making these out here, and then we can move over there to like blend it all up. But yes, we're not coming to you from the kitchen today. So first up, as I said, we're just gonna put all of the dry ingredients into our food processor and the coconut oil. So basically everything except for the peanut butter and the chocolate. And before that, I'm just gonna read out the first question that we have today, which is body positivity and acceptance. So there's actually no question, but I think she just wants me to kind of speak on that general topic, which absolutely we can do that. So in terms of body positivity and acceptance, I think we've come a long way today. I know that when I was younger, like the only body type that was idolized and thought of as like wantable and beautiful was like being super ultra skinny. It's kind of bad because I think it really just encouraged girls to not eat any food. And these days there's definitely a lot more diversity that we're seeing online. So in particular, we kind of saw the rise of the slim thick trend. And while I don't think that that's really great when it's taken to the extreme, I do think that it is good in a sense because it encourages more healthy habits. So I think in general it's kind of encouraging this idea that girls can go to the gym, girls can put on muscle, like, which is all healthy things that I think can be really good, but obviously it can be negative in other ways because people really idolize this idea of having big boobs and a big butt. And I mean, in terms of myself, I feel like when I was younger, I used to be very self-conscious, but I think as you age, you kind of just become more comfortable in your own skin and you just kind of grow to accept yourself. And I also mentioned, and maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but I do feel like it's okay to love yourself where you're at, but still want to make improvements or change something about yourself, as long as it's not coming from a place of like deep insecurity or self-hatred or loathing. I think that it's totally okay. And another thing that I was just thinking of is I think it's also really important not to compare. Number one, you don't want to be comparing yourself with other people, but you don't want to be comparing yourself with other people that are just a completely different body type, body shape to yours. So for example, I am someone that it takes a lot of work for me to have like abs or anything like that. So it makes no sense for me to stare at other people that have tiny waists and a full six-pack, because that will probably not ever be my reality. I'm just not a girl that has like a super hourglassy waist, and I just don't get abs easily. I'd have to be a very low body weight. But there are other girls out there that do naturally have abs, or they work incredibly hard to have abs and perhaps are not that healthy behind the scenes. So I mean, there's a lot to be said on that topic, but essentially I just think that it's important that you don't compare yourself to people that have a completely different body shape or type to you, because if I spent all my time staring at girls with abs and wishing that I could have abs too, it would be a huge waste of my time and just not a productive or healthy thing for me to be wasting my energy on. So that is kind of what I have to say on that topic. So I am going to actually do something here, because it is quite hard to talk and do this at the same time. I should have thought about this beforehand. But I have my cashews here, so in desiccated coconut, hazelnut flour. And we're also going to do 3 tablespoons of cacao powder. Then we're going to do 1 teaspoon of our stevia and a tablespoon of coconut oil. Now that we have all of our dry ingredients in our food processor, I'm going to take you guys to the kitchen and we are going to blend this. If it is too dry, I'll also add in about like 2 tablespoons of filtered water, but we'll see how we go. Let's do it. So as you can see, the kitchen in here is very dark, although my face is very like shining. I've got like a moon face. But I am going to, just like bending down here, I'm gonna blend up our dry ingredients and we can go from there. Okay, so the mix is a little bit dry, so I am going to add in a little bit of water to make it like stick together a bit better. Okay, so this is the texture that we want. We kind of want it to like ball up in the machine, so when it like all kind of conjoins together and rolls around. But yeah, that is the texture that we want. So we are going to go back to our other spot and we're going to start putting this into our trays. So what I'm going to do is just press these into the bottom of the trays for like, I don't know, maybe you want like about 1 centimeter thick. We're also going to be layering on peanut butter and chocolate on top, so you don't want this layer to be like too thick unless you like that really thick biscuit base. But we are going to get started with that and I'll bring up you guys' next question. So I've got someone also asking, am I still doing paleo? So for the most part I would say yes. I try not to get like too dogmatic about it. So for example, I do eat like some white rice here and there. Not all the time. I don't try to make that like the bulk of my diet, but honestly I'm just not too worried about having some rice every now and then. I also have been doing like quinoa at the moment and reintroducing that. The quinoa is a seed and not a grain, so it is technically still paleo, although I wouldn't consider quinoa to be like a super nutrient dense healthy food in my opinion. But I have been adding in a little bit more of it lately just for like a little bit of variety, and I felt like doing something different. Oh, actually, here's a controversial one. I have been eating dairy. So when I talk about paleo, I always kind of like have in my mind that dairy is a problem for some people, but it's not a problem for everyone. Obviously, dairy is a problem if you have like lactose intolerance or a dairy sensitivity, like to casein. I'm not keen on having dairy as a huge part of my diet, but I do enjoy like a bit of cheese here and there and like good quality cheese. So I try to buy organic where possible. Whether or not you consider that to be paleo, it's up to you. So I'm filling them up quite a lot. It doesn't have to be too neat either. We're gonna just pop these in and then pop them into the fridge. Okay, so I have just finished with the biscuity base, and now what I'm going to do is put on a layer of peanut butter. So I'm gonna do, I don't even know yet, maybe about a teaspoon of peanut butter in each one. And we're just gonna do that as another layer on top of the biscuit. So I'm just gonna use 2 teaspoons to kind of like get it out and press it flat into our little cups. What do you call it, cups? Okay, so we may or may not be eating peanut butter off the spoon, but we have finished our layer of the peanut butter. So what I am going to do is pop this into the freezer for, I mean, ideally it's as long as possible. I think I'm just gonna pop it in there for about 30 minutes to an hour, just so that it solidifies a little bit before we put our chocolate layer on top. So yeah, you just wanna make sure that you do leave enough room at the top just for a thin layer of chocolate. Some of mine maybe I've overfilled, but we'll see how we go. So while they're in the freezer, I might as well go ahead and answer another question. So I have one here about paleo no egg breakfast ideas. So she says, I have Hashimoto's and can't eat eggs. So I'm gonna just assume that you're doing like an AIP style diet, so an autoimmune paleo or protocol diet. So no eggs is a really tough one, and to be honest, I don't think there's any like great answer. My best advice in terms of breakfast options would be to do kind of like the same thing that you would do for lunch or dinner, but just have it at breakfast. I mean, there's no real reason why you can't do that. So I would mostly be going with vegetables and then a source of protein, because you do want to be having some protein in the morning, and eggs is usually the go-to. So instead of that, you could do any kind of animal protein, or you could even do a smoothie with some collagen peptides in there. So that is another option. And I know it feels a little bit weird to like cook meat for breakfast, but there's really just not a great way around that, to be honest. You could do something like smoked salmon, which is a little bit more of a breakfast food, but otherwise just being really prepared. So for example, pre-cooking some meat and having it stored in the fridge so that you can just quickly heat it up in the morning with some veggies. You could do like a paleo hash bowl, or I actually did a video a little while ago about paleo breakfast ideas, and there was actually one in there. So doing like a sweet potato toast is also really good. Top that with like avocado and salmon if you want to avoid using eggs. But yes, skipping the eggs is a really tough one. Hopefully that helps a little bit, but yes, we're still waiting for our stuff to freeze, and maybe I'll cap the questions there for now, just so that this video doesn't turn out to be like super long. Okay, so the PB cups have been in the freezer for a little while, so I'm gonna go ahead and start melting our chocolate. So I just have a 90% Lindt bar, but you could do like a mix of coconut oil and cacao with stevia, but I don't really mind that much. I'm just gonna use good old 90% Lindt. So I'm just gonna use about 80 grams, melt it on the stove top, and then we're gonna pour it over the top, and that will be pretty much our last step. Peanut butter cups are all done, so I'm just gonna finally pop them in the freezer, and then you just want to leave them in the freezer for as long as possible. So overnight is probably going to be best to make sure that they're fully solidified before you pop them out of the silicone cups, but I'm probably just gonna put it in there for like an hour or so, and then we'll pull it out and have a little look-see. Okay guys, we are back. It has been a little while, and our peanut butter cups are all set. So we are just gonna pop these babies out onto a plate, and then you can store them in the fridge or the freezer, and they're good to go. And how cute are they? Obviously, like, I like the fact that they look a little bit messy. Like, you don't want to make them look too perfect. They're so cute, and they would look really cute as well if you did them in the little patty wrappers, because you get that like little grooves around the edge, and they come out really easily, as you can tell. Once they've set properly, you shouldn't have any issues. So that is our peanut butter cups all done, and they look so cute. I'm so happy with how they turned out. I am going to end this video here, and if you do want to be part of these little Q&As, you should definitely go follow us over on Instagram. But if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if you want to see more healthy living, healthy lifestyle videos, and other than that, I will see you guys in our next one. Bye!